taking paper airplanes to a new altitude. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. With us from PowerUp is Shai Goitein, CEO and founder. Thank you for joining us, Shai.
Thanks for inviting me today. Hi.
Before we talk about what's brand new, give us some background about the company and how this got started.
Okay, so this is already now starting our 10th year, actually, and
Wow.
I think the 5th model. But to make a long story short, my background is in aviation. I was a pilot, also an industrial designer. And around 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, in my other job before going full throttle in PowerUp, I worked with some underprivileged kids, teaching them aeronautics. And as part of my prep for their class, I ran into all these different technologies, and it kind of brought me back to my past love of microflight and making things that fly. And in this case, this idea just came up to me. Hey, let's take a paper airplane, put some tech on it, and maybe it can make it fly more than just a few seconds. And as an industrial designer that continuously looks for new designs and architecture and does a lot of trial and error, I concocted this architecture of creating this kind of module with a rear propulsion system. And it flew, and it was an amazing, first moment of, wow, seeing your idea defying gravity. And actually the first model back then, this was even before we had the smartphones, it was just an idea of a RC version, like a classic radio control, which worked. And after that, I had a series of a more, simple and more complex models. Actually the first commercial generation that I launched into the market, it didn't have any remote control. It was just, supercharge it, launch it, see what happens, fly. This model actually is out there until today. It's called the PowerUp 2. We were also lucky enough to have a lot of copycats from China from this model. But this one is still flying and being used a lot in STEM and in education, because it's very simple, but yet provides very quick understanding of how to make something, launch it, and see it take flight. And in terms of the evolution of the brand, when we realized that there is something new that we introduced, the first model, which was remote control, was launched in 2013 through a very huge Kickstarter, when Kickstarter back then was really exciting and new and intriguing for everybody. We were the 7th largest project worldwide. We raised over $1.3 million and over 20,000 supporters. And from that amazing success, we launched and actually improved over the years a few more generations. We had the PowerUp Dart, which was aerobatic. We had the PowerUp FPV, where we put some video on the module itself. And then the PowerUp 4, which is our latest and best tech, where we have autopilot control and with sensors, and it's more durable, more robust. In a way, it's that model that already encompasses all of the improvements that were required over the years. Providing the best experience for the customer, and so that's where we are today.
Let's talk about the features of the PowerUp 4. What the consumer experience here?
So when we launched, usually as a designer, when we launch a new product, we don't like just to put a new sticker and say this is the new thing. We believe that we're providing something that's creating value. And I think one of the things that we've seen over the years is that, aside from any cool features, what really people want to see is their creation really fly, and And since we're not providing a ready-to-fly model, a customer builds it, he makes it, he needs to take a sheet of paper, fold it, adjust it a bit, and launch it. It's actually very much dependent on the customer capability, in theory. So we invested a lot of energy in how to make that onboarding experience easier, even if you don't make a perfect airplane. That was our kind of slogan. In a way, if you make a crappy airplane, it'll still fly. And here, adding some technology actually compensated for making an imperfect design. If it's not symmetrical, if it's not adjusted properly, so if it has a tendency to stall. What happens if you fly in a space where there's a lot of wind? That happens, and wind, paper planes don't like wind. So how do you fly in windy conditions where you have some gusts and it may blow it away? Here, really, the sensor technology, which is really popular in drones, essentially putting a gyro accelerometer, sensing the angles and making some auto corrections. This is where it really kicked in and made a flight much easier. One of the really awesome things that we found out, and this always happens when we make a new product, in a way the product reveals itself to us and tells us what it is. We found out that this technology is actually opening the platform to more than just paper planes. It can actually fly almost anything. And during our Kickstarter video, our producer, wanted to demonstrate this, and he told me, "Hey, let's try to fly a hamburger." So I told him, "Look, it's not going to happen. Hamburgers don't have great aerodynamic properties, too heavy." And they brought a hamburger and a lot of lettuce and et cetera. And I told them, "But you know what? Let's try to take this piece of lettuce and see if it flies." And this was totally spontaneous on the set. And that's what I did. Connected the lettuce, and it actually flew. It was quite funny. And we actually used this little short scene in our Kickstarter video. And it was also some kind of a slogan that we used later, that you can even fly lettuce, leaves, anything it's up to your imagination. And this actually led to this and other ideas, to the idea that we could actually add to the unit a kind of an accessory kit that lets the customer attach all kinds of materials, not just paper, but you can actually attach cardboard and foam and even balsa wood that we used to make once airplanes. And it really opens it up into a kind of a platform for many different materials. It opens up to, creativity. You just need an idea, find any material at home, cut it shape of a wing, an odd wing or a classic wing, whatever you like, and launch it, see what happens. And it actually does fly almost anything. I think the only limitation is weight. If it's very heavy, it's not gonna make it fly, or not gonna fly that efficient. But you can literally fly almost anything with it. And so that's one of the key killer, I'd say, features. And we're taking that also into even more advanced, and now we're actually using the sensor data, and we're letting our customers now actually access this data. So for STEM, for education, it's amazing that you can download your flight data and now analyze it, try to understand why your airplane flew in a certain way. But we're also using it for adding gamification experience, giving you points for smooth flights and soft landings. And if you fly a very complex airplane, you get another point for that, making it kind of fun and accessible for adults and for kids.
Terrific. Now, the education market, I guess, is wide open for you too. You mentioned STEM.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said before that the product kind of reveals itself to us, and I think our first customer ever was a teacher, and over the years we have so many teachers that are looking for new ways to teach physics and aerodynamics in the classroom. And in many schools, I think from 5th grade, there is a classic time where you go to the gym, you fold sheets of paper, and you try to teach the 4 forces of flight, drag, thrust, gravity, lift, etc. But it's very limited. In the end, the experience for the kids, it's fun. You launch a plane. Most of the time, they're not going to fly that well. Here, you're really we're actually giving the kids the time to observe the airplane fly, because you can fly, for 10 minutes, actually, the airplane. And you can see if the airplane has a tendency to stall, or is it very fast or slow or efficient? And you can actually discuss and talk about why that is happening. So we have quite a lot of teachers that they realize that this is something that they could actually utilize in their classroom, and we developed this as well. We're providing a teacher's guide for the class, and we are trying to market this more into the classroom as well. But again, it's not. We don't see it just as an educational item. It's kind of a very open-ended item. It touches the tinkers that love to invent something. It'll touch the DIY, the hobbyists that love to follow instructions and make something, if it's a jet or any other airplane. I think there are a lot of grandparents, for example, that remember the time where they used to build these balsa wood kits, and they want to introduce this to their grandkids that today extensively play on their smartphones or computers. So now there's an opportunity to show them something that's outdoor, hands-on, requires some fine motor skills, and actually demonstrates a natural phenomena, flight, really in a very accessible and fun way. And that's something that's valuable these days to actually show young kids.
For people who are viewing this, show us what it looks like.
Okay, so here we have already a pre-assembled kit. You see here the red airplane is actually a paper airplane. We are adding some tape to hold the unit in case it crashes, so not that things don't fall apart. But essentially, I can actually show how you receive it. I will take it apart a bit. So here you can see there's a module, and it comprises of the technologies in this part, where you have Bluetooth, a battery. We have here a bumper for receiving those hard crashes. And here you have a receptacle to charge the unit. And on the rear part, we have 2 powerful motors with propellers. And this does all the magic. So the sensors are here. Here we have the propulsion system. And the propulsion system, in normal airplanes, usually have a rudder, elevator, ailerons, etc. This architecture actually gives us the flexibility to connect it to almost anything. We don't need all these moving parts. By using 2 propellers, we get the option to get that differential thrust. So if this motor is going to move faster, the airplane is going to yaw to the right, and the counter, and vice versa. How do you go up and down? So we're using the very simple principle of speed. The more thrust you provide, faster the airplane goes, generates more lift, goes up. You shut the motors down, airplane is going to go down. It's quite simple, but it works amazingly because, when you fly, all the forces work together. So when you provide a yaw action, airplane is going to roll. So this actually can do a lot of stuff. It'll do aerobatics. You can fly it in really strong winds, up to, I'd say, 15, even 20 miles per hour. It can literally hover. The way you connect it to an airplane. So this airplane, the red airplane that we have here, is an airplane that we developed. We call it the Invader, but you can fly many different airplanes, and I'll show you on the app in a second. And the principle that you connect the module is very simple. We have this patented clips on the bottom, and you just put it on the nose and slide it like this. And that's pretty much it. We have another few accessories that we add. We call this the crossbar. And this is gonna connect on the top. This is gonna give some rigidity, especially if you're doing a high G, maneuvers, so your wings don't kind of fold.
How long will it fly on a charge?
So the airplane is designed to fly for about 10 minutes. But again, it depends on many factors. So if you build an airplane with larger wings or lighter structure, you can fly more than 10 minutes. If you build a very small wing or very low, I'd say high drag or a high weight, it'll fly for less because it'll need to use more power. I want to show you, so here, this is how you turn it on. You have this blinking light. And I think one of the really, say, cool elements that we added to the, okay, I'm going to turn on Bluetooth. This is actually working on Bluetooth. Many people are surprised, Bluetooth, what is the range? So we're using a technology that's called Bluetooth Smart, and we're able to get out of the airplane a range of around 200 feet, which is quite a lot, quite enough. So essentially, when you open the app, you have some tutorials, video tutorials. Then very quickly, you get to the main screen, which we call the hangar, like a real, when you go to a squadron or to an airport, you have the hangar, and there you need to choose which airplane you want to fly. You get to scroll between the different airplanes. And here we landed on the Invader airplane. Now, actually, when you choose the airplane, it'll change the parameters of the autopilot. So it's not just choosing an airplane, it's actually going to impact the way the airplane is going to fly. It's going to impact the sensors and the sensitivity of your control. And you click fly and you land on the cockpit. And you can see, by the way, that when I'm tilting the airplane, you can see the gyro is affecting the horizon. So this really gives you an idea that this is a sensor-driven airplane. Flying is actually much easier than a normal RC airplane. If you remember, RC usually use your both of your thumbs, and you need to control 4 different directions. Here it's very intuitive. You just add thrust and tilt your phone. So here, let's see if it works. Yeah. So you're holding your phone like this, and when you're tilting your phone right and left, actually your propellers will increase or decrease speed accordingly. And by adding thrust, it'll actually increase and decrease your speed. This is the basics. Aside from this, we have also acro mode, so it'll give you an option to do aerobatics, loops, barrel rolls, things like that. You get a battery level, so kind of your fuel gauge, and you have, I don't know if you can see, we also have a signal strength, not so much in use, but this gives you somewhat an indication regarding your range. You have access to your, if this is too much, tell me. It's a lot of information.
No,
you also have access to, we call it the tuning screen, where you actually can go into all of your autopilot parameters, and you see all these sliders, and you can actually impact the performance of the airplane. And the next feature that I started telling you about is the stat screen here. And this is going to show you your all of your flights. You can actually access all of your flights, and each flight is stored in there, and it's going to tell you how long you flew, what kind of achievements you've done. This really gives you, stores all of your flight experience. And you can also always go back and see and look at those flights. We have also a progress bar where you can see how you're improving in terms of your flight time. So, I mean, we're really using the data to help you learn how to improve, to get some feedback about your airplane performance. It's really taking you to the next level. We also have additional accessories that we created for this kit. We have a night flight kit where you can add lights and LEDs, so flying at night. And I can tell you, as a real pilot, I flew over 15 years in the Air Force. You know, flying at night is always a lot of fun because everything is very quiet, and usually there's less wind. And the same thing is for the PowerUp. It's a very different atmosphere. You don't see your airplane. You see two strips of light. It looks like an arrow shape. One side is red and the other side is blue. And you're just, in a very subtle, quiet way, you can see this kind of light fixture flying in space. It's really a very special experience.
It's a tiny UFO.
Yeah, it's like a UFO. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We also introduced in parallel, when we created this product, we published a book, very nice, colorful book. It's not really a paper airplane book like you can find in many stores on Amazon, etc. It's a book that has a few interesting things. We call it the PowerUp book. It's designed for all of our products. It's not just the 4.0. It's all of our flying propelled products. And in the book, we actually we have a chapter talking about the invention itself, why we did it, why we, in a way, kind of telling the story that I'm telling you, the considerations of the design. And there's a whole chapter that's really deep diving into the aerodynamics of propelled paper airplanes with our special technology. It's not exactly the same like any regular airplane. So we kind of elaborated about this. And besides that, we have also 10 different models, how to fold and fly, and have all the illustrations, just like any paper airplane. So,
and there are templates that you have too for creating different.
Yes. So we have the instructions. We also have, of course, printed templates that you don't have to buy them. By the way, and one of the things that I love is that you can just take any ordinary, sheet of paper from your printer and use it, or use scrap paper even. But we do have beautifully designed templates that make the airplane look really nice. In this kit, we also provide a waterproof template. In some places in the world, either you're flying in the snow, or maybe early morning, it's very wet. You have the collection of dew on the grass, and you don't always have the luxury of waiting until the grass dries. So you can fly actually in wet conditions, and it's not gonna soil your plane. We try to think of everything so everybody has fun and enjoys it.
Terrific. Well, tell us about the kits and the pricing.
Yeah, so the 4.0 starts at the basic model starts at $69.99. And then we're also offering all kinds of mixed bundles, which either you get the templates. We have also 4 airplane kits that are not paper planes. We have a balsa wood kit. That's an amazing, very high quality balsa wood design. It's called the Tornado. And we have 3 additional foam kits. One is a F-22 jet, and 2 more models that each one flies differently. Easy Streak, Easy Bug. Everyone has a different shape. And we have the templates, the PowerUp templates, where you have 6 different airplanes. We have so you asked the pricing. All of our accessory kits cost $15 to $12 as an add-on. But if you bundle it up together, if you order a pre-bundled kits, they're around somewhere around $100, a little bit less, a bit more, depending on what's included. I highly recommend always to get the book. I think the book provides a lot of value, I think, and a good starting point for success. And by the way, the book and some of the kits also work with the 2.0. So if you're not into, I know some parents don't want the kids to be with smartphones again. So there is an opportunity to actually do this entirely without a smartphone. You take the 2.0, you just need 3 batteries, 3 AA batteries, and fly it. And the 2.0 is also cheaper, but it's a different experience. You don't have any sensor technology. It's just adding a motor and launching it. It doesn't make it easier, by the way. It's challenging on its own. One interesting point that I'd like to say is that as part of our development, we did some really interesting collaborations with some bloggers and the creators. And we're continuously looking for more and more creators. So for the paper airplane designs and book, we collaborated with a new rock star in paper airplane design. His name is Kyle Boyer. He is in profession a graphic designer, and so he actually helped us to create the PowerUp book, and he designed also the airplanes in there. He has a lot of designs on that he also publishes on his own, but that's one collaboration. Another collaboration we did with a well-known, I'd say, RC blogging team. Their name is Flight Test, and they're located in Ohio. I think they're probably the biggest in the US. And they have, I think anyone that knows RC has heard of the team there, Josh Bixler and the rest of the amazing team. So these guys love what we've done. And especially they liked it because that's what they told me. Because PowerUp, in a way, goes into a special space of entry-level RC. RC, usually remote control, usually is quite expensive. You need to buy $100 at least controller and transmitter and a receiver. And then you need to build an airplane, which is usually also an expensive kit, and you need batteries and a motor. And overall, this thing can actually grow into a big expense of a few $100s, maybe even more. And these airplanes tend, especially if you're a beginner, they tend to crash and you get a lot of damage, etc. So there are a lot of wannabes that want to learn how to fly RC, but they're afraid, they're worried about starting this fun hobby. And in this sense, we actually, we're kind of bridging the gap for those that want to try it. They don't want to invest too much money. It's not going to break, because if something happens, you just fold a new airplane and you launch it. Our kit is also extremely durable. It's built for crashing. So so this is kind of, I kind of slid away from talking about Flight Test, but these are the guys at Flight Test, and they collaborated with us. They, besides, having an amazing blog about RC, they also are promoting a special construction technology of just using a hot glue gun and some foam that they actually market. They developed for us 3 airplane kits, and that we're also selling. They're actually producing it for us in the US. And then we have another third collaboration. We took the pastime balsa wood material, which is known already for over 100 years, and I think today is less and less popular, but it's
I remember
actually
the wind-up rubber bands having
exactly
how many of those I went through.
Yeah, the Windups, I think some of the kits are still out there. Exactly, didn't change. They have the $1 kits that you just slide the balsa wood kit and launch it. Those, by the way, also work with our kits, which is kind of fun. So we found a very unique in one of the air shows that we went to participate in. We met a nice team. Their name is Nighthawk Gliders, and these are 2 brothers, Brad and Bruce Williamson, and these guys developed a very unique design of gliders that you actually slingshot, and they go really high up. They don't have any propulsion. Then they kind of flat, they go level and they start gliding down, and eventually actually return to you. It's quite amazing. They fly for a very long time. So their performance was outstanding. And I just, I went to them, I talked to them, I said, hey, you guys, do you want to develop for us a kit? And I gave them our technology, and they worked on this and built an amazing kit, which they actually produce. They don't have a big factory. literally make each one by hand. So they have a laser cutter at home, and in their basement, they're doing these, and they produce for us thousands. I mean, I think during COVID, their whole family was busy making these kits for us. It was amazing.
So
So,
what's next for you? Where do you take this next?
well, that's a good question. Well, as I said, we are constantly looking to improve, and there's always space to improve. I think this year, one of the interesting things that we see is that we have a growing community, and we're trying to focus on that, how to, better engage, learn how to work with our community. We opened a new Facebook page. It's actually one of our followers that love what we do. This guy opened a Facebook page, and we're kind of piggybacking on him, and and we're helping him grow that page. It's called PowerUp Your Fun, and through that, it's not a page, excuse me, Facebook group. And through that group, we're going to launch new challenges. So we're really looking to turn our this platform, I call it kind of a platform, into something that more and more people can design new airplanes, and more makers, like I told you, if it's Nighthawk gliders or flight test, or anyone that has amazing and crazy designs that they want to share with a big amount of people. We want to kind of open this platform to all these people that want to join us, and we could just add it into our app, and have people either produce their own planes or just share their designs. So I think we're really more into investing into the community this year. And of course, we're constantly looking into new tech, as there is constantly new and improved technology out there that we can always add. But it really needs to create value. I mean, I believe that the next version is definitely must create more value to our customers.
Terrific. Well, the website is poweruptoys.com. Best place for people to go?
Yeah. We have, it really depends where you're comfortable buying. If it's on Amazon, you can find us on PowerUp. And we have there an Amazon store where you can see all of our kits. PowerUptoys.com, again, you can find us there. And there we also have the additional foam and balsa wood kits. And if you're not in the US, also we will ship to you worldwide. It's not a problem. And we also encourage our customers to, anyone that's interested, ask us questions. We have a great support team that can answer any of your questions. We have a community page on our website. And of course, the Facebook group as well, Facebook page. We also have a very good resource, by the way, which I highly recommend looking at. We have a YouTube channel called PowerUp Toys, where we have all the tutorials for learning how to fold, construct, some troubleshooting videos. All of these really contribute to getting, your airplane to really fly well, and and get a really joyful experience from this kit.
Well, congratulations on the innovations, what you've brought to market. I assume you didn't dream it would take off quite like this when you started all those years ago, did you?
No, actually, no. It's been a great ride. I mean, I think when I started, I worked at I had a day job. I worked actually at Kodak back then when they stopped using film. This was around 10 years ago, and went into digital. And I looked into exploring as a designer, looking for new ways to as a designer to find a way to work directly with our end customers. I think today it's almost trivial because you have all the social media, so anyone that makes something can actually have a direct access to their customers. But back then it was very, it was unapproachable. As a designer, you'd make something, and between you and your customer, you'd have so many barriers and you'd never really know if they're happy, if it's a good product or not. And I think this was actually my dream. And I think this did come true. I mean, through this platform of, through this toy or through this hobby. And we're still doing, and it's fun every time, anytime you see a review and you see people sharing their, happiness and their experience, it really touches you. And it's always fun to see another great review. And if it's not a great review, we also read it, and we try to understand what's the problem and how to fix it.
Terrific. Well, again, it's poweruptoys.com. Shai, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you, Fred, and thank you, everybody, for listening.